Anduril, Flame of the West, a blade made from the shards of Narsil, the sword that was reforged and then wielded by Aragorn. It is one of the mightiest blades from all of Middle-earth, but even in the hands of someone as great as Aragorn, could it have caused any real damage to Sauron, or could it instill fear in a different way? Let's look at this today.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Remember everyone, if you find this video helpful, informative, or entertaining today, please remember to hit that subscribe button below. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on any of our latest videos, and you'll be supporting us to continue creating great content like this. Something we never quite get from the films is that the blade, when reforged, has been infused with runes and of the skills of the elven smiths. In fact, the inscription on the blade reads, "I am Anduril, who was Narsil, the sword of Elendil, that the thralls of Mordor flee me." When it was first forged though, it was said to have been done by the legendary dwarf Telkar of Norgrot. This dwarf is considered to be one of the greatest smiths to have ever lived in Middle-earth, having created some other legendary items like the dragon helm of Dorlamin. So by the time Aragorn wielded it, it was a blade forged by the dwarves, reforged by the elves, and handled by a man. Quite fitting, really. If you think just of the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, for example, that allows us to see that no foe can stand to the blade. Sauron, at this moment in the story, has encountered Aragorn not too long before. They engaged in a battle of wills through the Palantir of Orthanc, and Aragorn holds his own, wrestles it back to his own mastery. Sauron is put to fear by the mere sight of the blade, the sigil of the family of Elendil, which cast him down and cut the ring from his corpse when it was known as Narsil. It is important to note that Sauron had no concept of a person who resisted the One Ring, much less the idea that someone might intentionally attempt to destroy it. At this point, Sauron believes that Aragorn, the heir of Isildur, with the blade of Anduril, has the power of the One Ring with him and is coming for Sauron. Aragorn's explanation of the encounter with Sauron provides us with several insights into many aspects of the story. Firstly, it foreshadows the circumstances that will eventually lead to Denethor and his tragic end by fleeing from the parapet of Minas Tirith. Aragorn's brief confrontation with Sauron highlights the relentless struggle that Denethor has endured throughout his entire life, showing how hard it truly was. Facing Sauron directly in a battle of wills is a bitter and intense conflict, as Aragorn conveys to his companions. He drew a deep breath. It was a bitter struggle, and the weariness is slow to pass. I spoke no word to him, and in the end I retched the stone to my own will. That alone he will find hard to endure. And he beheld me. Yes, Master Gimli, he saw me, but in other guise than you see me here. If that will aid him, then I have done ill. But I do not think so. To know that I lived and walked the earth was a blow to his heart, I deem, for he knew it not till now. The eyes in Orthanc did not see through the armour of Theoden, but Sauron has not forgotten Isildur and the sword of Elendil. Now, in the very hour of his great design, the heir of Isildur and the sword are revealed, for I showed the blade reforged to him. He is not so mighty yet that he is above fear, nay, doubt ever gnaws him. Despite their ability to instill a certain fear into Sauron, the struggle was far from over, even in the aftermath of the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, when Gandalf echoes these same sentiments. As the captains of the West contemplate their strategy going forward, Gandalf hints at the reforging of the blade as a sign that gives Sauron reason for concern. Now Sauron knows all this, and he knows that this precious thing which he lost has been found again, but he does not yet know where it is, or so we hope. And therefore he is now in great doubt, for if we have found this thing, there are some among us with strength enough to wield it. That too he knows. For do I not guess rightly, Aragorn, that you have shown yourself to him in the Stone of Orthanc? Again here, Aragorn confirms what is said is true, and clarifies that this event occurred before he left the Hornburg. He thought it was the right time, and his purpose was to divert Sauron's attention, as Frodo had left Rauros and was moving eastward. In Aragorn's opinion, Sauron hadn't faced many challenges since he returned to Barad-dûr, and this wasn't right. However, he admits that if he had known Sauron's swift response, he might not have taken the risk of revealing himself, at least so soon. The others are not against what Aragorn did, although Éomer does question the value of their efforts, asking why Sauron would attack them if he did believe that they possessed the One Ring. It is Gandalf who then speaks here, and his lengthy response is worth reading as it gives us a good insight into what he's thinking. "He is not yet sure," said Gandalf, "and he has not built up his power by waiting until his enemies are secure as we have done. Also, we could not learn how to wield the full power all in a day. Indeed, it can be used only by one master alone, not by many, and he will look for a time of strife, ere one of the great among us makes himself master and puts down the others. In that time the ring might aid him if he were sudden. He is watching, he sees much and hears much. His Nazgûl are still abroad. They passed over this field ere the sunrise, though few of the weary and sleeping were aware of them. He studies the signs, the sword that robbed him of his treasure remade, the winds of fortune turning in our favour, and the defeat unlooked for of his first assault, the fall of his great captain." Since being reforged, Anduril was not the same as it had been at the time it aided in the removal of Sauron's finger and the One Ring which it bore. As a symbol of Aragorn's lineage and the House of Elendil, Sauron studied the signs, as Gandalf says, and believed a true heir to the legacy of the faithful had shown himself. In our video of whom Sauron fears the most, we do look in depth at why Sauron had reason to fear Aragorn, as he thought he would come at him in possession of the One Ring. Consider what might befall Aragorn should he take and claim the ring for his own. I mean, consider what happened to Sam when he wore the ring for a short time in the Tower of Cirith Ungol, terrifying the orcs that remained there with the blade sting and the file of Galadriel. And that was just a hobbit. We must consider that when Narsil was reforged, it was not only remade, but engraved by elven smiths. On its blade was traced a device of 7 stars set between a crescent moon and the rayed sun, and about them was written many runes, for Aragorn, son of Arathorn, was going to war upon the marches of Mordor. This might explain why no foe could stand before the blade once Aragorn wielded it, as at that moment it had been remade and imbued with a special purpose. It is perhaps akin to the specialty item that was like the barrow blade which Merry used to help take down the Witch King, a blade that had been forged for its role, and this one to take out only Sauron and his minions. What remains important about the blade is not so much its physical components nor the skill with which it was made, only that matters to the extent it is in the right place and carried by the right master. As the heir of Isildur and the scion of the House of Elendil, the legitimacy granted by Aragorn by way of its inheritance is a sign that allows for the assault on the Black Gate, to draw the enemy out of his Black Lands and give Frodo and Sam the chance needed to be rid of the burden that was the One Ring forever. As the overthrow of Sauron was the reason Gandalf was returned to Middle-earth, he was, as the Blade, reinvigorated with a special purpose. In the end, Sauron had not the humility to consider the true purpose of the errand on which Sam and Frodo busied themselves, that the ring could be destroyed. Such a concept to his peril had never truly crossed his mind. That Anduril could take down Sauron, we are perhaps less confident. What we are sure of, however, is that he had been taken down before, that he could be taken down again, and at less than full strength, was a certainty, especially with Ilúvatar himself in the opposing corner of this war, alongside the many forces arrayed against the evil that threatened the whole of Middle-earth. So could Anduril actually harm Sauron? Maybe in terms of a physical body, but the psychological damage it could do was by far more important. The sword of Elendil was forged anew by elven smiths, and on its blade was traced a device of 7 stars set between the crescent moon and the rayed sun, and about them was written many runes, for Aragorn, son of Arathorn, was going to war upon the marches of Mordor. Very bright was that sword when it was made whole again. The light of the sun shone readily in it, and the light of the moon shone cold, and its edge was hard and keen, and Aragorn gave it a new name, and called it Anduril, Flame of the West.
Anduril, Flame of the West, forged from the shards of Narsil.
So there we have it. The legendary blade Anduril, Flame of the West, carries not only physical power, but also a profound symbolic significance. I personally love how it was crafted through a collaboration of dwarven craftsmanship, elven enchantment, to then be raised by a king of men. The sword represents a fusion of Middle-earth's diverse strengths. Its inscription, I am Anduril, who was Narsil, the sword of Elendil, let the thralls of Mordor flee me, reflects a legacy of defiance against darkness. Aragorn's encounter with Sauron while wielding Anduril showcases the sword's ability to strike fear into the Dark Lord. Sauron, fearing that Aragorn possessed the One Ring, highlights the psychological impact of the blade's history. Moreover, Anduril's reforging symbolizes a turning point in the struggle against Sauron's dominion. Its existence hints at the potential to challenge the Dark Lord's power. Yet, the blade's potency goes beyond physical attributes. It embodies the lineage of Isildur and the valor of Gondor's Númenórean heritage. As Aragorn wields it in the assault on the Black Gate, the blade becomes a beacon of hope and defiance. Its light represents the rallying cry for the forces of good, drawing Sauron's attention away from Frodo and Sam's perilous quest to destroy the One Ring. In the history of Middle-earth, Anduril stands as a testament to its people's unity and their spirit's resilience. Its fiery brilliance illuminates the path to victory, underlining that, while it may not have directly struck down Sauron, its symbolic might was a vital thread in the fabric of triumph against the overwhelming odds.
The blade that was broken shall return to Minas Tirith.
With that now though, it is time for my question of the day, which is, what is your favourite sword from the histories of Middle-earth? Is it the almighty Anduril? Perhaps it's Gandalf's Glamdring? Or what about Anglacal or Angural, the two swords forged by Eöl, the Dark Elf? Or maybe it's a different one entirely. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments section down below. And now to shout out our patrons. You guys have been amazing in supporting our short film project. We have got some amazing updates coming soon. We are really making good progress and I cannot thank you all enough. We have the Divine Power tier member of Kevin, the Fire Demon tier member of Nashith, and the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew, and Hunter. You are all true legends of the Brohirrim. Finally, I really appreciate your time in watching this video today. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon with notifications enabled, so that you will get notified when all future videos are released. Thank you once again for your support, and I look forward to seeing you next time on The Broken Sword.